Hello, guys. Welcome to Chance Fox Media Podcast, where we discuss real stories, leadership, businesses, and ideas that are shaping our future. Today, today we're going to discuss about Europe, NATO, and the whole thing of United States of America about leaving NATO. Yeah, I'm going to explain according to the way I've seen it. Yeah, and what's the plan behind it. So our main topic here is simple. Why United States of America wants to leave NATO? Why? This is the question that most of people are asking, including myself. I'm asking why United States of America they want to leave NATO now. And why are we asking this question? We are asking this question because United States of America, that the head of that NATO, North Atlantic Alliance, NATO, that the head of that organization. And the United States of America, that the number one sponsor of NATO. So it means United States of America, they have invested a lot of money in this NATO. Which can make them leaving this NATO is an impossible thing. It's not easy to leave it. Do you understand? But why they keep on talking like that? We wanna leave NATO is not helping us. But that's the one putting a lot of money in this. Of course, like Donald Trump, we started talking about leaving NATO. He was showing the sign of leaving NATO, even in his first term, the first term. He was also showing that sign of leaving NATO. But by then, it was not too much like he's talking today. These days is too much. On his second term, it's too much. And this brings a lot of questions without answers. So I want to go a little bit deep. I think we are going to help each other on this. If you see where I'm lacking, you comment, On this, now it has a very big momentum. Like people are getting touched to it, like even to put their mind to think on it, like what's really is happening here. So if we can take a little bit back, since the war in Ukraine, since the war in Ukraine, United States of America, they have been also number one sponsor of that war, sponsoring Ukraine against Russia. Sponsoring Ukraine against Russia. But before we go, we proceed with this. Before we proceed with the story, we just need to know why NATO was created. NATO was created long time back. Long time back. I think after World War II. It's when NATO was created. Why NATO was created? NATO was created to stand against the Soviet Union. So NATO was there like the opposition of Soviet Union. It was a military organization that can stand against Soviet Union. Because without that, there was nothing that can stand against the Soviet Union. So for Soviet Union to have a powerful opposition, they created NATO as their military organization that is going to protect every member that belongs to NATO, right? And this is how this NATO was created. It was created to encounter Soviet Union. That was the main goal. You see? But after the collapse of NATO, after the collapse of Soviet Union, just from there, NATO became useless. You know, NATO became useless because there's no opponents that are going to be encountered. There's no one else apart from Soviet Union. Soviet Union has been dissolved, so there's no Soviet Union. Then why NATO is still existing? According to the way I hide, it was like they wanted to dissolve NATO, but they decided not to because it's business. You know, it's business. They decided like if we dissolve NATO, then how are we gonna make money like military? You know, so they leave NATO so that it can encounter any country that is going to be against NATO members. You see? And the primary enemy of this NATO was Russia. You know, Russia was the main. Actually, Russia is the one that formed the Soviet Union. So after the collapse of Soviet Union, it means Russia was the only country that was part of Soviet Union remained powerful. So they thought it wise that if we don't need to dissolve this, we have to make this NATO to encounter Russia. You see? So after they failed to dissolve this NATO, then they keep on expanding because there's no Soviet Union now. Then NATO start expanding. It was not expanding north because there's no one. It was already expanded north, but the only side that they can expand, it was this side of Russia. Is it east side of Russia? So they were expanding toward Russia. This is the thing that Russia start feeling it like they're being surrounded by the enemy. You know, now they're being surrounded by the enemy. And why NATO was doing that? They were doing that for the purpose of surrounding Russia. And the main goal is that anything that we want, anything that we demand, Russia have to do it. Even if you want to dissolve Russia, you have to be dissolved because of the pressure, because they will be surrounded most. So NATO was like it was preparing to attack Russia at any time. It's like you now, you are surrounded by all sides. Where are you going to land? Because I've surrounded you most. So it's very easy to kill you. So this is what NATO was doing to Russia. You know, so Russia saw this as well. They saw this that since we have dissolved, since Soviet Union has collapsed, and this was the many reason why Soviet Union collapsed. And yeah, since we are dissolving Soviet Union, NATO, they mustn't expand even an inch toward the east, bordering Russia. They mustn't expand even an inch. You know? But the NATO, they didn't keep this weight. They keep on expanding toward east. They keep on expanding. And this is where Ukraine was given a sovereignty. Because Ukraine was part of Russia. You know? So Ukraine was part of Russia, but the population of Ukrainians, they were also many. So they were demanding also to have their own country. You know? So to form that country, Ukraine, Russia, they have to agree because it's like Ukraine and Russians, they were one. It's a one country. They were one country, one people, speak same language. everything, catch everything is safe. You know, so it's like your child. It's like your child is asking you, "Ah, Father, can I also have a plot? Can I also plant my own crops here, so I can also rely on it?" You as a father, are you going to deny? You're not going to deny. You are going to accept it. Yeah, you can plant it, but we are, we are going to be. I'll be also looking after it. Not like getting involved, but just look from far. Like you can do. Oh, is my son there? Okay, something like that. Is he doing well? Is anyone attacking my son? Is anything bad happening to my son? How is my son progressing? So this was the job for Russia to Ukraine. You see, so Russia accepted Ukraine to have a sovereignty, like to have their own nation. And this was also one part of the deal that since Ukraine is becoming a nation, then NATO, they mustn't expand eastward. You see, but NATO, they didn't keep this promise. They keep on expanding. They keep on expanding. They keep on expanding. They keep on surrounding Russia. This lead us to where now, in Georgia, Russia attacked Georgia because also Georgia wanted to enter Russia, to enter NATO. So it means Russia will be surrounded like all sides. Where is populated, it's where these NATO, they were surrounding Russia. Like Georgia is on this side. They have already expanded all this side. All these countries have already joined NATO. And Georgia was on this side. They also wanted to join in NATO. Very far from this, they want to join in NATO. So it means here, Russia is going to be surrounded even this side. So to prevent this, Russia had to attack Georgia. You see, this is how Georgia get attacked by Russia to prevent this mind of joining NATO, even European Union. So between here, there's Moldova, Ukraine, Turkey, other countries here, Azerbaijan. Ukraine is the biggest country among all these ones. It's the biggest. So if Ukraine join NATO, it means it's like if NATO created their bases in Ukraine, it means now it's like they have a full access of Russia. So Russia was sending a message that we don't want Ukraine to enter NATO or European Union. But now Ukraine is turned against Russia. It's like the rebels. They forget they're rebelling their father, which is Russia. The child is rebelling his father. What is the father gonna do? It's like he's rebelling against his father. So the child is calling enemy, is congregating enemy to fight his father. What is his father going to do? The father has to protect himself, right? Even though a child is not powerful as his father, but because it's being attacked, the father have to protect himself. This is what started happening. That Russia started the operation in Ukraine. It was not like a war. It was an operation that Russia was sending a message, like we really don't want you to be in NATO or European Union. It was an operation that it was just an operation to initiate talking, to make them that, okay, what you are doing, we are not happy with it. So since we are not happy with it, we have started this. Because if you keep doing it, it means you want war. And this is war. And we don't want war. That's why they started that operation. It was not intended to be a war. That's why they call it an operation. You see? And according to the and while Russia was before Russia initiated this operation, Ukrainian they already started killing the Russians in the Donbas region. They were killing the Russians. They were eliminating the Russian language. Anyone, they were stopping everyone to speak the Russian. As I said, every Ukrainian was speaking Russian, and that was their primary language. You know? So let's take me. I'm a Tumbuka, right? I'm Tumbuka. Let's say Tanzania get our area. You know? So when they get our area, they start forcing us to stop to speaking my mother language. They are stopping me from speaking my tongue language. Like, stop speaking Tumbuka. You have to speak Swahili. While Swahili is just a language, yes, it's the language of Tanzania. But, but, that is not my language. My language is Tumbuka. I belong to Tumbuka people. You see? And someone is forcing you to stop speaking your mother's language. It's like he's forcing you to leave your culture. So this is what Ukraine leaders they started doing to the Russians that was living in Ukraine. They were not just living there; the native Russians that they were formed together with Ukrainian country, Ukrainian nation. They start forcing them to speak only Ukrainian, while the Russian was the language that was spoken in the whole country. But now they start forcing them because they want to detach themselves from the Russia. And they were doing it not by asking, they were doing it by force using military. If you go from 2014, yeah, on those 2012, you see a lot of demonstrations that were happening there in Ukraine. It was the Ukrainian killing the Russian. You see? So Ukrainians they started this thing in 2014, 2012, 2015, all these years. They started it. Killing the Russian, forcing the Russian, because the whole Donbas region is the Russian speaking language. They speak those are the Russians. So Ukrainians they start forcing those people, and those people they say, okay, if you say like let us create Donbas as a republic, then this republic will belong to Ukraine because the Russians are many as well, like in millions. So are you going to kill our language? It can't happen. It's impossible. No one can force on this earth. No one can stop you from speaking your language. No one. But the Ukrainians they were doing it to the Russians. So because of that, the Russians now they have to intervene. Because the Ukrainians they start killing the Russians' culture. No Russians in our school. No Russians books in this country. No one speaking Russians in this country. How? Even if I go to a foreign country, no one can stop me from speaking my language. Ukrainians they were doing that to the Russian. They were stopping every Russian. No one should speak the Russian in Ukraine. For what? How? Why? Why? So if you see this, you find out that it's Ukraine who started all this thing. And Ukraine to do this, they were being sponsored and influenced by Europe and this NATO because they wanted to join in NATO. You see? So this is how this problem started. So while they keep on killing, then Russia they came to that Donbas region as a peacekeeper, like to protect their people and to protect their culture and to protect this thing of because the Ukrainian also they wanted to kill the religion of the Russian, the Orthodox Christianity. They wanted to kill the Christianity in Ukraine, not to happen. You see? So this is how Russia began to intervene into Ukraine matters. It's when they take Crimea, because Crimea, the whole Crimea, they are speaking Russian. And the Crimea was given to Ukraine as just a gift, because it was already part of Soviet Union. They saw it wise that, okay, that Ukrainian, we give them as a gift. You know? The whole Donbass. So after that, after this now, it means there were some discussion were happening, but Ukraine was not giving up of becoming NATO and joining European Union and the NATO as well. And this European Union, they were not giving up on pushing Ukraine to join NATO. You see, this leads Russia now to start that operation. And that operation, it was just to show that we are still not happy about it and we are ready to defend it. After that operation, the main goal is for Russia is to take these people to the table and discuss real talk. It's happened. It's when they went to Budapest for the agreement to stop the operation. And they did that. They stopped the operation. The Russians, they started evacuating, leaving Ukraine. You know, like there is going to be peace. No one will stop the Russian to speak their language. The Russian language is going to be preserved. These are the things that they agreed in Budapest. If you can check the Budapest agreement between Ukraine and Russia, I think you'll find out more than what I've just said. You see? So, while the Russians are leaving the territory that they occupied, you know, while they are leaving their stand, here in UK, there in UK, by then the Prime Minister was John Boris. You know, John Boris. After this Budapest, then John Boris, the agreement has already been done. The operation has ended. It means there's no war. There's nothing that is happening, no shooting. The operation has ended. Within only, is it 1 month? It was 1 month. Then John Boris, he has to influence Ukraine again. That, don't give up like that. You know, if you continue this war, they're telling the rest, if you continue this war, we are going to support you. It's up to you. If you want this war to end, it's fine. But if you want to continue this war, we are going to support you. You see? You see? So, Ukraine leader to hear that, if we stop this war, it's fine. If we stop, it means we are not going to join in NATO. It means the language that we didn't want, the people will still be speaking. Or the Russian culture will still be there. Because the Ukrainian, they don't, as I said, they don't have culture most. They are doing the same culture of Ukraine, the Russian. They have the same culture of Russian. But they wanted to eliminate that culture and take the Western culture. You see? So they think, if we really keep on this, we keep to if we don't detach ourselves from this agreement, it means we will not be having this Western culture. You know? So what are we gonna do? Then they follow that John Boris, the Prime Minister of UK. They followed his word. Like, if you give up, it's fine. But if you want to continue the war, we're going to support you. Europe is on you. NATO is on you. You see? Then this Zelensky decide, let me. Then they start now bombing the Russians. The Russians are leaving. The Russian military, they are leaving, they are evacuating. Then Ukrainian, they start bombing. Because Russia was already very, very deep in Ukraine. Very, very deep in Ukraine. But while the Russians, they thought now the war is over, the operation is over, we are going home. They're evacuating in all those areas. Then Ukraine started bombing them. So if we say here, who started this war? If we can ask, who started this war? Is it Russia or Ukraine? To my understanding, it's Ukraine who started this war. It's Ukraine who started this war. You see? So, then, why are you bombing? We thought we have agreed we have a deal. You know what they said? I forget what they say. It's in a very rude way. Then the Russians, they have to start protecting themselves. They have to start protecting themselves now. They say, okay, since you say this agreement is no longer active, then let us fight there. This is how fight start. This fight is still now. They're still fighting. You see, this is the reason you will see that on any stage of this war, you hear that Ukraine is winning, Ukraine is winning, Ukraine is winning. It's the NATO and European. There is one, they surprise, now they start killing the Russians. You see? And after that, after they started this, they told Russia, will never speak to you. We'll speak in Moscow. We'll meet in Moscow. Then this fight continued. They support Ukraine by all means. Weapon, intelligence, everything they did. They wanted to dissolve Russia. But they have failed. They found out that Russia is very, very powerful. So how are we gonna do this? So it's when Donald Trump came in and started saying that, this war in Ukraine, if I was the president, it could have never happened. It could have never happened. It's because of Biden. Now they understand that now we can't beat Russia. And United States of America, they spend a lot of money. Like 350 billion plus. And it's United States who was spending more fighting for Europe. So after Donald Trump, we said that we cannot, us and Russia were very far. There's a very big ocean between here. So we cannot be the number one sponsor of Ukraine. We cannot be sponsoring another continent. Like protecting another continent while the people in that continent are not protecting themselves. So this stance, this kind of word, is when they start bringing that image now that otherwise we have to leave NATO. So after Donald Trump, he started saying that he wanted to leave NATO. Then who's going to defend Europe? Because Europe, they are weak. They are strong with the United States. And it's NATO. NATO was formed to protect them. So if the big sponsor of NATO, the more superpower of NATO is one leaving NATO, then who's going to defend them? So this is this question they start asking themselves, and they start deciding, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We have to protect ourselves. What are we going to do? And the United States of America, Trump, we didn't stop there. He keep on saying we are going to leave NATO. Now, Donald Trump started his operation in Iran. He find out that in Iran is being beaten Do you understand? He's being beaten. USA is being beaten. Then he wanted to call his allies. Because NATO was formed to protect every member. The United States is also a member of that NATO. Then NATO was supposed to stand up. These allies were supposed to stand up and start helping USA in Iran. But the way USA started this war in Iran, it was an illegal war. And also, Europe, to avoid consequences of attacking Iran, they decided to stay away from it. And the other point that they were also staying out of it, they knew that if they join that war in Iran, it means Iran also have its own allies, which is Russia, China, North Korea, all BRICS members. They're also going to join the war to defend Iran. So to avoid this, they have to stay out of that war. Directly to stay out of it, to avoid World War II. This is the reason also Russia didn't interfere. They had to stay away, directly away from it, to avoid World War III. Even China, same thing. But we don't know what is happening behind. Indirectly. These Europeans are still helping United States of America. Just like China and Russia are helping Iran indirectly. You see? But why? United States of America, they know that the European countries are helping them indirectly. But why they still keep on saying that we are going to leave NATO? Because NATO, they're not there for us while we need them most. Why they're saying this? These are well calculated movements that is happening here. Europe, they said, while they are supplying weapons to Ukraine, they said, now we are going to make Europe as a military power. Because Europe is an economic power, now we're going to turn Europe also to a military power. But how is that going to be possible? Because United States of America said we are no longer going to defend Europe. You see, United States of America, they said that we are no longer going to defend Europe. And Europe said we want to make Europe a military superpower. Like we are the economic superpower. We want to make Europe same thing. But how this is going to be possible while you still have NATO? Because NATO is run by the same country. You know? So how can they put money on NATO and also on another part, on another thing? The main goal is the same, protecting ourselves. How? So these politicians, they mustn't blind us. This is a well calculated movement. These are the agreements that they've already agreed behind back doors. Now they're just trying to figure out on how they're going to inform the public. So they start using their tricks on how they can inform the public. Like us, we want Europe to have a power, to have a military power. How are they going to send this message to the public? This is the reason they start looking for excuses. You find that they start looking for excuses. You know? Trying to find excuses like NATO, they're not there for us. The time we needed them most, they're not there. If they're not helping us, it means we're also going to stop defending them. If NATO members, European countries, they're not paying too much money to NATO. If they're not paying too much, then United States of America will leave. then NATO have to, then these European countries have to defend themselves. These are the reason they're sending it out to people, so that the people can get blind and say, yeah, and agree. So they're using all these excuses that, Russia is attacking us. We need to be very, very strong. And they've already started doing it. So the main goal for United States of America to leave NATO is not like they wanted it. According to my understanding, I see like European Union, they demanded United States of America that we want to create our own military powerhouse that we can start on our own. You see, and this is only possible once NATO is dissolved. Once NATO is dissolved, let us say if NATO is not going to be dissolved, but the European military power is going to be formed, either in the same NATO or another organization will come out. And they're already talking about this organization. They're already talking about it. And Germany is out, all European countries are already preparing it to make a very strong European military that can encounter Russia. And they're saying they are going to war in 2030 with Russia. And their preparation has already begun. They are preparing it. And this is the reason they are saying Russia will never win in Ukraine. But Russia is already winning. You can imagine the whole NATO. If I say the whole NATO, including United States of America, the whole Europe, all of them, they're against Russia, one country. But they can't. They're still failing. So NATO wants to be dissolved because they want to create a European military power. They want to create a very, very strong military in Europe that will encounter any attack on Earth. This is their main goal. So we might hear Donald Trump saying, we want to dissolve NATO, we want to dissolve NATO. This is a movement that I've already agreed behind. You know, now they're just sending a message on how they're just sending this message to the public so that the public can understand that, we have to defend ourselves. You know, but it's a well calculated movement. If NATO is going to be dissolved, another European military power will be there. But if you can look at it, it's not easy to dissolve NATO. But maybe if NATO is not going to be dissolved, then the amount of the contribution of United States of America is going to go down. Then European can have more power on how they can control it to defend themselves. Because now they know that we were depending on expanding. Is when we were becoming more powerful and powerful. Now Russia has stopped us not to expand further. So what are we going to do? It means we're not going to be powerful and we're not going to be making money. So let us make let us make this investment within the investment that we wanted to invest in Ukraine. We can use those investments to make a European very strong, or to make NATO very, very strong without even needing to expand to other countries. You see, this is the reason why Donald Trump is saying we want to leave NATO. Their main goal is to pave a way for European military power to be formed. This is their main goal. And their main goal is clear. They are speaking it publicly. Everyone is hearing it. Everyone is hearing it. So we have to be aware. We have to be aware. So if European, they are saying they want to have a very strong military power that can encounter any danger on earth. What are these people trying to do? Because if they say they want to encounter any danger against any on this earth, it means the enemy is not only Russia. These people, they have a very big goal. Or there is something big that is coming. We have to be aware. We have to be aware. Especially as Africans, we have to be aware, and we need to also to be prepared. We have to be prepared. These people, if they are saying like that, they might use their military again to invade us and make us slaves again, you know? If we are weak, they can do that. Because now Europe is standing up. He said they want to have a very strong military. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. These people, if they are not attacking Russia, then who's the target? Because the main go for Europe. Europe doesn't have anything. Europe have been surviving on other people's resources. This is how Europe has been surviving. And there are many resources that have been surviving for is from here in Africa. So it means they might even start using their military power to start oppressing us more and more, so that they can loot our resources. So what if us also we start standing up and start engaging, uniting, and also starting building this military? We can manage. Russia can help us, China can help us, North Korea. We can manage. These days now it's modern, there is AI. We can use the same AI that they're using. We can also use the same AI to make weapons. AI can also help us to design anything, you know. So we can use this advantage. We can use this advantage using their knowledge in AI and create also our strong military. We don't need to use the AI system in our military, no. But we can use it to design it, to make our own weapon if we cannot manage. Because if they're going to sell to us, it's going to be very, very expensive. You see? Even if it's cheap, they're going to make it expensive so that we mustn't buy. Because they have their goals. Their goal is to control us Africans. They are going to control people. So if they know our goal is to control them, then how are you going to sell the good weapons to them? How are you going to do that? And there's no other way that you can refuse if they want to buy those weapons. The only way that you can do is to make it very, very expensive. To make it like everyone cannot even manage to buy. You see? And the Europe is weak right now, but they're already disrupting us. Now they're saying they want to be very, very strong. These people, they want to bring slave trade again. They'll bring slave trade in another way. So we have to be very careful. As also Africans, we have to prepare. You know, they mustn't. 400 years ago, 400 years ago, we were slave trade. We were slaves. You know, they were taking us as a slave trade because they wanted us to work for them for free. Now they need our resources now. As here we have everything. Anything that we want to use to make weapons, we have here in Africa. Everything. It's just for us to stand up and sacrifice to work. Everything is possible. God has blessed us with the same knowledge. It's only on how we handle our knowledge. You see? Yeah, this is our message for today. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching Chance Fox Media Podcast. Please subscribe, comment, and stay connected. More conversation like this one coming soon. Cheers.